Did a guy really offer to pay $500 to anybody who killed an ICE agent, go all the way to trial, and then get found not guilty? Yes. Yes, he did. Now let's find out why. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I'm your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And today, we're talking about this New York man who offered $500 for the murder of an ICE agent. And he is acquitted on protected speech grounds. I mean, kind of. He was acquitted by a jury. I guess it was protected speech grounds. It shouldn't have gone to jury trial, in my opinion, but let's take a look. The man is below here. You could take a peek at him. What's his name? His name is Brandon Ziobrowski. He's 35 years old. He sits on piles of garbage, as you can tell, and may in fact be a pile of garbage himself if that's what you're looking for. I'm sure you can find him on his... No, wait, you can't because Twitter banned him. But let's take a peek here at what actually happened. Here's the tweet. Here's the offending tweet in question. It says, "I am broke, but will scrounge and literally give $500 to anyone who kills an ICE agent." And he also said, quote, "At me, seriously, who else can pledge? Get in on this. Let's make this work." So he's not only offering $500 to have somebody kill an ICE agent, he's also attempting to sort of crowdfund it through being added on Twitter. So people are apparently going to pledge to raise the huge sum of $500. He had another tweet back in August, or wait, no. He had another tweet here. "Thank you, ICE, for putting your lives on the line and hopefully dying, I guess. So there's less of you? Less of you?" And he also tweeted about wanting to kill Senator John McCain, which, to be fair, so did Cancer. Cancer really wanted that guy gone. But either way, it doesn't matter what he tweeted here, because what this is not, as much as it may look like it, sort of, this is not a threat. This is not a promise to pay $500. It's not a contract on an ICE agent's life. None of those things. It's not incitement. It's nothing like that. For a very long time, we have had protected speech for the purposes of expressing dissatisfaction with our government, even in extreme ways, even using violent language or rhetoric. That has been established for a very long time. One of the big cases on it is Brandenburg versus Ohio, which protected some very awful speech by a group of how do we put this lightly, Nazis and KKK members, saying some very awful things about African American people, that they should be killed, they should be hung, all of those things, right? They were saying all of the things that are bad to say, and all of the things that look like incitement. I mean, Brandenburg is up giving a speech telling people to cleanse the streets of the terrors of black people. That's what he was doing. He was found not guilty. People can chalk that up to the era. It was in the 50s. However, the protections for incitement do stem from that case and still stand. The idea is that if there is not an immediate likelihood or an imminent likelihood of violence, of the violence actually taking place, it can't really be incitement, because the speaker can't expect that people are going to later go do what they say they should do. It's kind of counterintuitive, but it's also how we protect speech. Now, the big difference here, back to Brandon, if he were up on a soapbox in a public place talking to a crowd and there were actual ICE agents nearby, and he raises up 5 Franklins and he's like, "Hey, I will throw out 500 bones to anybody who goes and ICEs an ICE agent right now," that's a completely different scenario, because there's a possibility that one of the people in the crowd will go do it to a specific, target that's indicated right there. The violence is imminently applicable. And then it becomes a much tougher question of, is he joking? Is he offering this seriously? Is his speech meant to cause someone to engage in this violent behavior? That's very different than a social media post with no specific target, with no knowledge of the possibility of an imminently capable act of violence or anything like that. Presumably, Brandon has no idea if any of his 400 followers are near an ICE agent when they read the tweet. They could read it days from when he tweets it. They could read it immediately. Who knows? But he doesn't, and that's a critical distinction here. He can't possibly know if anyone hearing his message is going to actually be capable of imminently carrying out violence against an ICE agent. And because it's not particularized, right? He didn't pick a specific badge number. He doesn't have a specific name, just any ICE agent. This looks a lot more like protected, generalized speech expressing dissatisfaction with how government is being conducted. And that is one of the most important protections we have, because when that's gone, we can no longer express dissatisfaction with government. If everything we say is a threat to government, then we don't get to say anything at all. And there is where I want to bring in U.S. Attorney Andrew Lelling, the prosecuting attorney, I believe in this case. He says, quote, oh, here, let me get that for you. We respect the jury's verdict, but in this case, the defendant posted a tweet that on its face offered $500 to anyone who killed a federal agent, Lelling said in a statement. In 2019, over 100 law enforcement officers died in the line of duty. The public needs to know that, regardless of today's verdict, we will never hesitate to prosecute apparent threats against law enforcement officers. Tell you what, Andrew Lelling, resign immediately. Because you should never be prosecuting apparent threats. You should be prosecuting actual threats. And trust me, Andrew Lelling knew going into this case that this was not an actual threat of violence against an ICE agent or the government or anybody else. He should know this. This is pretty basic stuff as far as attorneys go and as far as First Amendment protection should go. Reminder that this is the guy who charges you with a crime for your speech. That shouldn't be a thing. That shouldn't be a thing. We shouldn't have a guy who's out there with a hankering for prosecuting speech. Prosecutions of speech should be reluctant, careful, thoughtful, and with the full force of the First Amendment and the full force of Supreme Court jurisprudence considered in every step of the way. This should have been dismissed pre-trial. This should not have gone to a jury trial at all. They should have said, look, is there any possibility that this guy, not even possibility, is there a probability that this guy thought that when he tweeted this out, someone would go off and just murder an ICE agent for the $500 he said he would give generally over Twitter? No. Now, is it private communication with someone? Is he offering the $500 via Venmo? If you go stab an ICE agent to a specific person who might be known for stabbing people? These are different questions. This is what Lelling's office should have been doing in going ahead and deciding to go forward with this prosecution. These generalized statements over Twitter, how does his attorney categorize it? He says, this is a guy who tweets about all kinds of things and says outrageous things. And aren't we all? People who tweet about all kinds of things and say outrageous things. At one point or another, that's just about everybody on Twitter. That's just about everybody. And it's terrifying to think that that because some law enforcement officers died in the line of duty, that people should go to jail for speech. Now, I talk a lot, let me briefly say, I talk a lot about never speaking to cops. Don't do it. Don't talk to federal agents. Don't do it. This is all for your basic protections of your rights, is just not to talk to them. That being said, I do that out of respect for the job that they're able to do, because I'm trying to help you defend yourself rather than expose you to what happens when you do talk to cops. And that is, it tends to end up with you ending up like Brandon here, going through some sort of court process for whatever you may or may not have done. That said, I never want a cop to go home in a body bag, ever. At the end of the day, I'm not a proponent of violence, especially for political means. I'm not. But we should be able to say even outrageous or violent things in protestation of our government. That's why the First Amendment exists. It's actually why our country exists in the way it does, founded by the people who founded it. And we have to protect that. If we don't, we lose. If you like this kind of content, please like, subscribe, follow the channel, all of that good stuff. Come check out a live stream. They're typically every weeknight from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. You can find updates in them on the community tab, or you can follow me on Twitter at Rekieta Media. Hope you guys have a great day. Hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, peace. Peace.